As a business owner, you would never run your business solely based on a rule of thumb, and you shouldn't run your income plan that way either. One of the worst pieces of advice that I hear is when I hear someone say, when you stop working, just withdraw 4% of your investment accounts, because it's not that cut and dry, and it's not that simple. Your income plan should be built around your own personal situation, not just a blanket number. Now, I understand where the 4% rule comes from. Just to sum it up real quick, it's great research. It was done back in the 90s. And essentially what it says is that over a 30-year period, if you have a diversified portfolio and you withdraw starting 4% of your portfolio every single year and then adjust it for inflation, there's a high probability that you will not outlive your money, which is great. Now, I like it. I think in general, withdrawing a small percentage of your investment accounts every single year is exactly what you should be doing. But I don't believe you should just look at, hey, I can withdraw 4%. How much do I have in my accounts? Multiply it by 4%. That's what I can live off of. We believe that when you put an income plan together, whether you just want to know how much money you can draw off your investment accounts and you want to still work, or you want to hit the exits and you want to retire, you shouldn't start with a percent. You should start with questions. And the first question to ask is, at what age are you going to start drawing from your investment accounts? Are you 50 years old and you have to plan for the next 30 or 40 years? Are you 67 years old, or are you 72 years old, and the amount of time you're going to be withdrawing off your portfolio is a lot less? You're someone that just stopped working at 70, and maybe you want to plan for the next 20 or 22 years. So the first thing you want to do is figure out how many years you're going to be planning for. After that, I ask clients, which we know, are you married or are you single? Are you planning to draw income for just your life, or for your spouses as well? If you're single, you can probably withdraw a bigger percent from your investment accounts because you're only planning for your life. Another thing to think about is, do you have life insurance? So maybe if you have life insurance on either you or your wife or both, you might be able to withdraw a little bit more money, knowing that if something happened to you, you're going to have a large influx of cash that will replace the money that you've been withdrawing on. So those are the first two things that you want to look at. When do you plan to start drawing money on your investment accounts? And then also, are you married or are you single? Next thing you want to look at is, do you have any fixed income that's coming in? Right there, we're talking about, are you collecting a pension? How much is your Social Security? Do you have rents from any real estate or business royalties that you're collecting? If your fixed sources of income make up a big percentage of the money that you need to live, you're in a good position. After that, we also want to know, which is very important, what type of accounts do you have? Are they just taxable brokerage accounts where you're going to be looking at long-term capital gains? Are they pre-tax IRAs and 401ks where you're going to have ordinary income taxes when you take money out of those accounts? Or is it an after-tax account like a Roth IRA where you've paid the taxes already, and if you have qualified distributions, the money is completely tax-free? So keep in mind, you get to spend how much money you're left with after taxes, not just how much you're withdrawing from your investment accounts. So the type of accounts you have comes into play and is a big factor in figuring out how much money you're going to withdraw from your accounts every single year. On top of that, another important part is, as we said, not legacy, we call it transfer. Are you someone that, do you have kids? Do you have a favorite charity? Do you plan to leave money to your kids or donate to charity? Do you plan to spend it all? That's something that you've earned and you have the right to do that. But I think your long-term goals for your money that you've accumulated is also something that has to come into play. If you're someone that is 70 years old and you're single and your kids are grown and you're not worried about taking care of them, maybe you want to just spend as much as you can and wind down your assets over the next 20 years. And that's totally fine. Like we said, it's all about finding a game plan that works for your specific situation. But that's very important. You know, if you're someone that wants to leave a lot of money for your kids, which a lot of my clients do, that'll impact, maybe you're going to withdraw a little bit less percent than someone that doesn't care about that and just wants to go enjoy their life and spend it all and doesn't have to even worry about the next generation. Lastly, my favorite as always is your monthly income. How much money you need to spend every single month. This is going to dictate from the start how much money you're going to need to withdraw from your investment accounts. Starting point always, and you do this hopefully way before you plan to stop working, is figuring out how much money you're going to need to withdraw from your investment accounts to maintain your lifestyle. And then you work backwards to figure out, well, how much do I need in a lump sum before I can start drawing on that income? And then you want to make sure that the money that you need to withdraw can even be supported by how much money you have in your investment accounts. The important thing to realize is that there's no right or wrong answers, but they are important answers. And these questions is exactly what you should be running through when you're trying to figure out how much money or what percent you can draw from your investment account. So as you can see why we don't love right off the bat the 4% number. Once we figure out what percent we think you should be withdrawing from your investment accounts, we stress test that against a variety of different market scenarios of how the returns could play out over the next several decades to see if your plan holds up. I covered this in detail in another video. I'm going to put the link to that video at the end of this one. Realize that some clients only need 2% withdrawal rate. Other clients withdrew 6% and it worked for them. But one more thing I want to point out is why it's so important to figure out what percent you could be withdrawing from your investment accounts. Realize the range is wide because everyone's situation is different. But just a quick example, let's say you're someone that has $2 million in assets. Let's just say it was in a taxable account for argument's sake, and you have a 4% withdrawal rate. That's $80,000 per year. Let's say you run the numbers and you realize that your plan supports a 6% withdrawal rate. 6% withdrawal rate is $120,000. So the difference between 4% and a 6% withdrawal rate is not 2%. It's 50% more spendable money. And that's $40,000 a year is $3,500 per month. If you look at that over a long time, 15, 20, 30 years, it could be spending an extra $500,000 or $800,000 in retirement. But realize that 4 to 5% is a 25% difference. 4 to 6 is a 50% difference. That's why it's very important to try to maximize what your withdrawal is from your accounts. And of course, make sure that you're not going to outlive your money.